5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
That was nice.
Welcome back to Ribbonsome, also known as
Rather interesting, but also.
Not So Much. Dayamale.
And I am Paro.
We know you've been missing us because you've been telling us non-stop, but we had a lot to do. End of year is a
As
you know, there's a lot of stuff to do. We have a lot of projects, a lot of things to wrap up. Not only presents, but also things. We wanted to prepare this little video for you guys so you could watch with your family
And friends.
and
And lovers and pets.
and whoever you care about and in whomever you believe.
Okay.
You can watch all together, guys. And what are we going to talk about today?
What we have prepared for today is
You are on the ball.
I'm
You
on
are
topic.
on the ball.
Is a number of Christmas tales because it's Christmas.
Right now,
And,
for you guys who are watching this, enjoying with your family, it is Christmas Day. Unless you're watching like later on, in which case
in which case it's
could
like
be-
2018. Anyway, what
So-
we're doing today is we're going to try to get to the bottom of
Saint Nick's present bag sack.
bag sack.
To the bottom of Saint Nick's bag of toys. That's what I wanted to say.
So what interesting stories do you have prepared?
Traditions, Christmas traditions, where do they come from? We wanted to know what their origins were, if their origins were like a little bit weird or unknown. If their origins were just like normal, then okay.
Before we start talking about the historical oranges.
Oranges. It's the second time. See, we're gonna talk about oranges later on because if you have your Christmas stocking, you probably get an orange.
Like my mother.
Why? Mother always gave us apples and oranges.
She said it was because of fertility.
And when she said that, it sounded a
It
little bit
sounded
weird
weird.
because we're like 3-4 years old. Anyway, there's a reason, and we'll talk about it later on. And if we
Yes.
forget, remind us. But the way this works, really, you can't remind us. So hopefully we'll remember. You're talking
but
about
yes.
Christmas oranges.
No, origins.
Origin.
No, because we were talking about how different Christmas tales have started at a certain point and then evolved throughout time. I think there is a story that's going to come up in the next decade or so, and I just want to quickly throw that in there. That's going to be the new Rudolph Grinch story. Like
Chipmunk Grinch. That's sort of like a Christmas plate. I feel it's a crunchy dish.
Fried chipmunks.
I don't know. It's like, hey, Chipmunk Grinch. It's like, it has like a crunch.
Well, that crunch, I mean, you're getting it right because there is something that's crunched up in this story. Because apparently...
Chipmunks. Why are they called chipmunks?
Because
Chocolate
don't they like
chipmunks.
jump on things like...
No, but it's chipmunks. They are little monks that like chocolate chip cookies or something like that.
Like,
So
why is a cappuccino called a cappuccino?
why
Because of the monks?
Chips. It's the other way around. The monks are called capuchin monks because of the capuchin monkey. The monkey looks like a capuchin monk because the capuchin monk looks like a monkey. And it's called a capuchin monk because it's a capuchin monkey.
Yes, but the people that discovered capuchin monkeys knew about the monks before.
I believe somebody discovered capuchin monks and
then said
they look like capuchin monkeys. And
because
they said,
the
hey,
capuchin monkeys already...
let's just take out the Y at the end and let's call them capuchin monks. I believe that's what happens. I'm pretty sure. Still, I want us to find out why they're called chipmunks.
In any case, I was about to talk about squirrels.
Why is a squirrel
It's not
called
even chipmunks.
Squirrel is one of those words that is very easy to mispronounce.
Squirrel.
You write it one way, but then you just say like squirrel. It's like we're happy with the Christmas jolly spirit in ourselves.
Exactly. Santa Claus is coming tonight.
It's Santa Claus is coming to town.
Anyway, since 2014, apparently, in a town in Toronto, they've been hanging up Christmas lights, and they noticed that the lights would get cut off. They'd look at the wires, and the wires were all munched on, and then they realized...
Like munched on.
Munched on.
Squirrels are rodents.
Yeah.
They're called rodents because they rode. At least in Spanish, it works that way. Rodents are roedor. The verb roer is to rode.
You are correct. The Christmas lights
Were
were
roded.
roded. So they realized that it was the squirrels in the park that apparently didn't like the lights or liked the lights too much and started to eat them. So now what they're trying to do is putting the lights on the floor because they think that they'll be less interested in the lights if they're on the floor. I don't know. The fact that in Canada they're having problems with Christmas light eating squirrels makes me think that in 10 years' time there will be like a Grinch squirrel Christmas tale.
So basically it's going to be a Grinch that speaks in a very high squeaky voice. I like that story. That's a story that will become song.
Create a song.
Squirrel, the Christmas light muncher, had a
Had
very
squeaky
squeaky voice. You heard it here. That's beside the point. My darling sister is very tangential because we're talking about the origins of normal Christmas tradition. They are in no specific order. The first one I would like to talk about is something that's very interesting. I've had this come up in conversation before. It's the use of Xmas, hyphen mus, instead of Christmas. Of course, we know Christmas means the Mass of Christ. It purportedly celebrates the birth of Christ. So a lot of people believe that Xmas is a non-religious way of...
I always thought it was a modern way, kind of like when you write what, W-A-T, to save time, or lol.
W-A-T, you write what, W-A-T?
I don't, but some people do.
I believe you've told us all that you do.
No, I don't.
It isn't very modern. It's something I remember our grandmother used to write it that way as well. But it is something that a lot of people believe is a non-religious sort of thing. It's a sort of blasphemy sort of way.
Does it have to do with the crucifixion?
No, it has nothing to do. That's another thing.
Like the X crucifixion.
Some other people may believe it's the X, the symbol of the cross, or you could even argue that it's the real crucifixion of the Romans, which was in an X on a tree, etc. etc. It's none of these. In fact, the X stands for the Greek letter chi. And the letter chi is the first letter of the name Christ in Greek.
Okay.
So it's that simple. There is no weird thing about it. The word Christ, K-R-Y-S, is the beginning of the word Christ. The X will be the K sound, the CH sound.
Well, wouldn't you say?
So people, it's no insult to anybody. It's not offensive. I don't think that things are offensive.
It's people that are offended.
If you guys have thought that this was offensive, there's no real basis for it.
So what else do you have for us today?
I have for us today talking about mistletoe. I've investigated it a little bit, and I wanted to find why mistletoe. There's really not a very profound reason, but there is something very interesting about it. I'll say why they perhaps use mistletoe, which sort of goes together with why they use Christmas trees, which are evergreens.
They really never die? They all look dead when they're in people's houses.
That's because they are dead. An evergreen tree is basically one that, if left alone, i.e. not cut and put in people's houses, will always be green no matter the season.
Okay.
Why they use the wreaths and all that? Because in Middle Ages, when everybody was like, oh, the wolves in the forest and the boogeyman's gonna catch me, I'm afraid of everything, they used to look at evergreens, basically all these plants that would never become dried up, as something magical, something very strong, something that had powers against evil.
And it also smelled good.
A lot of them don't
and
have
those type
smell.
of people were stinky, yeah?
I don't think they realized they were stinky. So perhaps that wasn't
the main reason
right at the top, like,
of their
oh,
priorities.
this smells a lot. The important thing about this is that people saw them as powerful forces of nature because they couldn't be killed unless you cut them down, put them in your house.
Okay.
Anyway.
I have something interesting to say about Christmas trees being indoors.
Right after this, we're going to Christmas trees. Right after this. So
You're
hold,
talking about mistletoe.
hold your Christmas horses and
Okay.
reindeer.
Okay. I shall
Hold
wait.
your horses.
I shall wait.
These things never died. People thought they were powerful. They used to surround themselves with all of this kind of nice greenery. That's why the mistletoe is there. Not for any good reason. Why do people kiss under the mistletoe? Apparently, nobody knows. And there's no good reason. But, I have a good reason to kiss maybe under the mistletoe, but only do that.
And not kiss the mistletoe.
Don't kiss the mistletoe. Don't eat the mistletoe. Because there's a little known fact, which is very much not romantic about the mistletoe, is that if you eat it, it will give you a very strong tummy ache and a bad case of diarrhea.
I thought it would stay at the euphemism. It'll give you a tummy ache.
I'm sorry, there's no other way to
Diarrhea,
code it.
the runs.
You can't chocolate coat diarrhea. You can't chocolate coat diarrhea. If you kiss the mistletoe, it's not your Aunt May's Christmas pudding. It's been that which will give you the runs for the next week. And that's very unromantic, but it is the truth.
I hope you write it down as quotes, like the important quote of the day. You know, you can't chocolate coat diarrhea.
We will be putting that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
And we'll be raffling it out. You cannot.
It'll be the Christmas miracle.
And I stress, you cannot chocolate coat diarrhea.
You heard it here first. It is interesting.
It's rather interesting.
I'm going to make sure not to have any of that at home.
You were saying about Christmas trees being indoors. Around this time, people used to just hang apples and carrots from the Christmas trees, the trees that were outside. And that's where the baubles come from, and the hanging thingies with their carrots.
What I didn't know was that up until the 20th century, people were starting to get interested in bringing Christmas trees into their homes. But there was a lot of debate between environmentalists and the fact that even then they realized that cutting down Christmas trees was creating an impact on
The Christmas tree population.
Okay, that's all about the 12 days of Christmas, right?
I've
always thought that it says on a partridge.
In a pear tree.
I thought it was partridge gigapet tree.
Your second shirt for the night. If you guys think it's a partridge gigapet. I remember you had a gigapet.
I had two.
And she killed them both.
A call it a dinosaur.
If you guys think it's a partridge gigapet tree, then say so in the comments. I believe it's a partridge in a pear tree.
Partridge gigapet tree.
A partridge in a pear tree. Because it has that sort of Renaissance ending.
Okay.
You know what I mean. Anyway.
So anyway, in 1902, the Christmas of 1902.
The Christmas of 1902.
In the Christmas of 1902, well, under the reign, the presidency of Teddy Roosevelt.
Reign?
The presidency of Teddy Roosevelt, as you well know, he loved the environment.
And he loved killing teddy bears.
Yeah, that'll be for another show. He didn't want to have a tree, or he didn't really care about having a tree at home, so it was his 8-year-old son, I think his name was Archie,
Archie Bunker.
that got a what is that, like 40 centimeters?
That's about 2 feet.
Yeah, and he hid it inside his closet, and then he exposed it to the whole family on Christmas Eve with little
It
presents.
sounds a little bit weird. It's like a little Christmas tree.
Well, that's what he did, and then their tradition was that this little kid would make secret Christmas trees all over the house for everybody. So they say that he was the inaugurator of this tradition of bringing a Christmas tree into the home. Little Archie.
Archie Tannenbaum. I was speaking to somebody to whom I explained what Old Tannenbaum means. What Tannenbaum means. And
I think it was to me, but I don't remember.
I was talking to you, and you said, "Oh, I thought that was just the last name." It's like, oh,
like the Royal Tannenbaums. Yeah, it was me.
Talking about a guy named Tannenbaum or a gal named Tannenbaum. But no, Tannenbaum is German for Christmas tree.
Christmas tree.
That's it.
But you didn't know that.
That's why it's Old Tannenbaum.
Old Tannenbaum.
Oh, like an interjection of
because if they're evergreen, he can be old.
But it's old.
So what else do you have for us?
What else do you got? What else do you got? Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Not like Santa Claus, like from Nightmare Before Christmas. Just normal, jolly old thing. Who is this man? For very long, I was under the misconception that our modern Santa Claus that we know and love
Coca-Cola.
Was Coca-Cola made. The red and the white, because of Coca-Cola. The jolliness, what happens when you drink too much Coca-Cola.
Yep.
His girth.
His girth.
His girth.
I love that word.
His girth, also something that may happen if you drink too much Coca-Cola. But anyway, was he created by Coca-Cola? No, he wasn't. He existed much before that as this jolly...
Red dude.
Red dude, exactly. If I may. He was already red and white in the old Scandinavian traditions.
But it is true that he comes from
even before. But let's go back in time.
Okay.
Already in 1822, before Coca-Cola.
Was Coca-Cola like 1889, something like that?
Yeah, or 1890, at the end of the 19th century. But this was way before. In 1822, Clement Seymour composed a poem, which is The Visit from St. Nicholas. And I will quote, "He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. Ho, ho, ho. He was chubby and plump." I mean, they already said he was round, so do they really have to go back and...
They're just putting the finger in the hole.
In the hole. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf. Already elf. Why elf? I'll get back to that. "And I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist in his head. Something like that. Soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread."
It was more positive than other Christmas tales we've read about.
It was composed for his son and daughter.
Okay.
But anyway, what I wanted to show is that in 1822, here it doesn't say that he's red and white, but he's already jolly and chubby and all that. That already works. I'm interested about the part where he says the jolly old elf, because he was an elf even before he was anything else. He was already red and white in the Dutch tradition of Sinterklaas.
Sinterklaas.
Which sounds familiar, does it not?
Sounds like Santa Claus.
It sounds like Santa Claus, because Santa Claus has been...
It's coming to town. It's coming tonight.
It's coming to town. No, it's coming to town. It's the name of the song. Damn it. Learn your Christmas songs, kids, or Santa will not bring you Christmas presents. So it's Sinterklaas. It was deformed into Santa Claus when it became anglicized. It was in America that they called him Santa Claus. As you know, in Britain they call him Father Christmas. So he was Sinterklaas. What does Sinterklaas mean, you ask? And I'm glad you asked, because it comes from, I guess, Sinter Nicholas, Saint Nicholas. He's also known as Saint Nick. So
Jolly old
Saint Nicholas became Sinterklaas, and then Santa Claus,
and then Coca-Cola came by
and did apparently nothing. But it's a common misconception that it was Coca-Cola.
But what you're saying about the fact that Santa is an elf, that makes me think of the story about the elves.
Which elves?
The elves that have the weird names.
Oh, but they don't work for Santa Claus. They are weird elves. They're called the 13 Yule Lads. And apparently, in my research, I found some information about this, but only from one source. So
it might not be true.
It might not be true. If you guys know a little bit more about it, then comment. The Yule Lads, they come from Iceland. Basically, they give you presents, I guess if you're good, or rather, if you have new clothes for Christmas. If you're a child and you don't have new clothes for Christmas, then they have a pet cat, the Yule cat, which will eat you alive.
Which will eat you alive.
So
if you don't have new clothes.
If you don't have new clothes. So even before you worry about if you've been good or if Santa Claus brings you goodies or whatnot, you have to worry about your parents buying you new clothes before Christmas, or you'll get eaten alive by the cat.
But the Yule Lads, they had names.
As everybody does.
That's what I want to know.
That's what you want to know. They're named after apparently their primary character trait.
Yeah.
So these are, I mean, this is all I got, guys. I'm reading this right off the interwebs, so you can check it and see if it's true, whatever. So there's one called the spoon licker. He likes to lick spoons. The pot scrapper. I don't know if he scraps pots or if he eats the whatever's burnt at the bottom. The door sniffer. I don't understand how that works.
Well, I do have a lot of doubtful neighbors that prepare really weird stuff to eat. I don't have to.
And there are others that are worrying names, sort of like the window peeper. I think we've rules for that as well.
I like the sausage swiper.
The last one is the sausage swiper. Now, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Does he swipe sausages somewhere?
It makes me think. You remember Aphex Twin? Twin. You know they have a song called "Window Licker."
Yeah, he read the story.
He probably did. We'd love to know the other names as well, because there are 13 of them.
She's basically making me read off whatever is in the internet at this point, so let me get back to St. Nicholas. And this is something that is proven, is real. We already established that Santa Claus... I have to come back to that because she...
No, wait.
So we've established that Santa Claus comes from the Dutch Sinterklaas. It basically comes from Old Norse legends, and it was a pagan elf. But the modern conception of Santa Claus comes from Saint Nicholas. And Saint Nicholas, a lot of people don't know, he was born in Turkey in the 4th century. And before you ask, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that we eat turkey in Christmas.
I'm a vegetarian, I only eat the stuffing.
Very, very poor Christmas. I'll just parenthesize it because I'm not going to come back to it, okay? At some point in history, when you brought weird stuff, people said, oh, that has to come from this place because that's the weirdest place I know.
Timbuktu.
Turkey comes from the Americas. They brought back turkey to Europe, and at that point in history, Turkey was the most exotic place that existed. So they said, oh, Turkey. Which is why in Portugal, because they conquered South America, and what was the most exotic place for the Portuguese?
Turkey?
Peru.
I didn't know that.
The place from where we come was the center of the Spanish conquest, the city of the kings.
Yes.
You do know that. You studied school. They bring the turkeys, they say, oh, look at those turkeys. That's why.
Oh, that's why they call it Peru.
Oh my god. That's basically it. Why is it called Dand?
And he says
Why is it called
that
Dand?
I go off on tangents.
Why is it called Dand?
Because they said that it comes from India.
Because Dand, D''Inde, means from India. At any rate, Saint Nicholas was born in Turkey in the 4th century. He was a bishop there, and apparently he was very good. He was very good to children. He thought that children shouldn't work, should enjoy their childhood. He would give them eventual gifts of homemade food or whatnot. He died there, he was buried there, then his bones were unearthed and stolen and taken to Bari, Italy, San Nicola di Bari. That's where sort of the tradition starts coming alive.
And that's where they realized, they said that there was this weird perfumed oil that came out off of the bones.
Some wax, some smelly wax.
And people would pick up that wax and
give
it to the sick.
It was called Santa Bone Oil.
Santa bone oil.
And you would just...
Santa,
Santa's bone oil. That's what it's called, man. It's Santa's bone oil.
Saint Nick's bone oil.
Santa's bone oil. That's what I'm calling it. That's what we're calling it in our gift shop. Anyway, again, you've derailed.
Sorry.
The Turkish saint, now Italian saint. This guy is mixed from a lot of different sources. He's jolly, he's cool, he brings you presents. He was a Turkish monk who was then stolen and taken to Italy and became bone oil. That's basically what you need to know.
So we can safely say that the safest gift that you can give anybody for Christmas is an orange.
I like the way your brain works. See, you guys didn't remind us. We had to come back to the orange.
Oh, I had forgotten that.
If I may, I will go back to when Saint Nick would gift homemade food and stuff to kids so that they don't have to work. And he would gift them oranges. And oranges, as you might remember when you lived back in the 4th century, were not very common in Turkey.
No, not very common anywhere, really.
Not very common anywhere. Would have to cost a lot. So Saint Nick not only found oranges in the middle of the desert, but wherever he found them, he could pay for them, and he gifted them to the children. That ties into sort of the magic of, hey, Santa Claus can give whatever he wants to every child in the world in one night. So going back to what you said, that is the safest gift you can give. And it's not only the safest gift you can give.
Traditional.
It may have been the first gift ever given by Santa Claus himself.
Well, it's probably.
And a very magical gift indeed, because giving oranges in the desert is not an easy thing.
Even giving oranges in winter-torn Paris isn't necessarily...
Like right now, you mean?
Like seasonal fruit.
Yeah.
Keep it seasonal, everybody.
Keep it seasonal. And on that note, we wish you a Merry Christmas
and a Happy New Year.
So hopefully you guys have had fun. And if you're watching this on Christmas Day, we thank you a lot that you are spending some time with us instead of being with your family. Because really, this is more important.
Yes. And if you like the contents of our show, we invite you to click like and subscribe down there. And if you'd like to be notified every time we publish a new video, you might like to click on the bell button.
The bell button.
And if you do that, we will send you
our best wishes.
And Yuletide tidings.
That is
it.
What we can promise. But if you don't subscribe,
we'll send you coal.
You'll probably be
eaten alive by the Yuletide cat.
We thank you a lot for being here with us on Christmas Day or whenever it is.
Thank you and have a Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year. And we'll see you next time. Which is the name of our album.
Long and weird.